But so I've been asked to talk about my practice, and as we've been focusing on the 5 spiritual faculties, I'd like to try and to look at it through that lens. And I'll start by exploring how the 5 spiritual faculties might in some way have provided some momentum, sort of leading to my initial engagement with Buddhism. Something that I quite often ask people is sort of like, well, how, what got you through the door of the Buddhist Centre? So I just have this sense that there's quite a sort of ambiguous kind of start to the path. And and I'll also sort of relate the 5 spiritual faculties to the activities in my life and practice. The first of the 4 noble truths of suffering may have orientated me towards a more Buddhist path, but I feel the 5 spiritual faculties helped me sort of find some leverage in my life and got me moving towards that path. And coming through the front door of the Buddhist Centre, where they've been nurtured, I think the way the first noble truth was knocking on my door was the pain in my life that couldn't be sufficiently remedied by the sort of go-to channels of doctors or adjustments to my living environment. And the challenges that brought up about how to recognize sort of value and find satisfaction in life with that happening. So I have a neurological condition affecting the coherence and comfort of my senses and the effort required to process my environment. So it was diagnosed in my sort of early to mid-20s, so after years of willed effort to jump through the hoops of education and everyday activities. And I developed a migraine, I think, through all the sort of willed effort, really. It's lasted for many years through all my sort of waking minutes. And I saw lots of specialists, but the cure, if there was one, seemed to be beyond these channels. And I found myself confined to the house and to a large extent to my bed. And I wanted to be free, and I wanted to be happy, and I wanted to connect with my friends. And I wanted to find something that I could still offer. And if I couldn't be cured of the pain, I wanted to understand that there was still value to be found in living with a pain that seemed to bleed through my sensory life. One moment of insight was when I was looking after my baby nephew in the kitchen, and I love him, and he was unable to convey his needs through speech, obviously, at that time. And I felt motivated to listen and to tune into his ever-changing state, and just to accompany him and just to understand what he might need. And I found that the process of deeper listening to him involved me being sort of braver and more patient to my own experience, including the pain. I think I was motivated by a desire to see him without the shrouding of my own defences between me and my experience. And there was a slight softening of the pain behind my eyes, and it was almost imperceptible, but I was so motivated to break free after having sort of felt sort of buried alive for so long, that I was like a detective, sort of noting down sort of any little clues. And I didn't know Buddhist terminology at the time, but in the words I now know, I'd say that the sort of familial love I felt with my nephew provoked energy in pursuit of the good, or virya. And my mindful state, sort of motivated by wanting to be free from suffering, enabled me to notice patterns and connections, which might be regarded as the emergence of a little wisdom. And the degree of motivation I felt in my challenging set of conditions, which I feel could be regarded as a hell realm, led me to continue to notice how my attitude and ability to be with my experience, to the limits of my emotional and neurological capacity at that time, would over weeks and months and years, ever so slowly, soften the pain behind my eyes. If I push myself too much to engage with the experience, sort of burnout, fear and despondency followed. And so I needed to learn the rice milk of human kindness, to patiently sort of pace the process, and the close confines of the conditions of my life at that time provide almost sort of laboratory conditions of trial and error, just to notice, what helps. The initial sort of vagueness of any insight and the personal risk of turning towards such constant pain involved as much faith as confidence. And there was also to develop the wisdom of meeting that faith with kindness and patience. But over time, my conditions sort of softened enough for me to train in holistic massage, where mindfulness of myself and clients was encouraged. And I learned through my studies to practice abiding with what was meeting me in my fingers, in my heart and in my ears, and to meet it with massage therapy. It was on a further professional development course in Thai massage that I ended up walking through the doors of the Buddhist Centre, because it happened to be held in this room. And I sensed something alive and peaceful here, that seemed to speak of a journey that had been calling me. So just from the atmosphere, just literally breathing the atmosphere of the room, that was enough, and I decided I wanted to come back. During the solitude during my illness, an enforced retreat in a sense, there was a massive buildup of energy of some kind, wanting to go somewhere. I mean, I'd had the perfect conditions to develop mindfulness, but I desired connection and to offer something in the world. And motivated by a desire to learn Spanish, in part because the light in Spain suited my sensory condition better, and because I desired friendship and to bring local foreigners together with UK-born residents. I began contributing to a language exchange and running it for about the last 7 years. Just organising lots of community building activities and activities. It was as though the sort of virya, like the counterpart to all the mindfulness I'd had the conditions to develop over those sort of years at home, in bed, it was almost like it was like electricity in a cloud, and it was just looking to go somewhere. So it was around this time that I started to attend the Buddhist Centre. And when I doubted my sanity, devoting so much of my limited energies to a not-for-profit language exchange community, the Buddhist teachings I now had access to about friendship being the whole of the spiritual life helped me honour the deeper motivations in my life. I mean, meditation still challenges me lots. It's, I mean, just being with my body, with my sensory reality seems such a lot. My childhood attempts at conveying my condition and needs to family and school sort of largely failed, perhaps because my condition was invisible in nature externally. And I learned not to make a fuss and sort of present in a way that was less connected to me, but easier for others to comprehend. So to sit in meditation with my experiences, I come to believe were sort of unseeable, untouchable, or incorrect, was healing and challenging in terms of learning, practicing kindness towards neglected and intense inner life. I'm very grateful for the supportive conditions of guidance, of friendship and community that have supported my meditation at the Buddhist Centre. I have a daily just sitting practice, which is simply me spending time seated, practicing abiding with my experience. I also meditate in nature and find the life around me provides a sense of living home and connection. My Mitra studies over the last half a dozen years or so have provided sort of structure, inspiration, friendship, and commitments, and have helped me on my journey. And one of the things I love about my nature practice and meditation in general is that I feel like there's a practice of allowing myself to experience things that I don't have to explain. And something about just giving that space. I mean, seeing, for example, the leaves on a tree, going from being a thing to something that's really breathing and alive. It's a beautiful thing. And sometimes it feels as though there is mutual awareness between me and some moss, some tree or whatever. And whilst I can't explain that rationally, I don't have to for the purposes of meditation. And I can allow it to enrich my life without needing to explain it. And I think that's something really precious I found with meditation. I'd like to, and the Metta Bhavana, one of the most challenging practices in Metta Bhavana has been working with my relationship with my dad. But it's helped see my sort of blocks in the relationship. But it wasn't really until the pandemic where we were living together every day without really anywhere else to go. That I think that awareness just helped enough that I could see that actually sometimes talking something through and about different views of relationship isn't the thing that's going to help. And my dad did dozens and dozens of jigsaw puzzles during the pandemic. And I just made a practice of spending some time with him while he was doing his jigsaw puzzle, just noticing, talking about his puzzle with him. And I feel that we have a more loving and simpler and more straightforward relationship. And I feel like some of the groundwork was done during meditation, and it at least helped me come up with the mindfulness activity that helped in, a really important relationship in my life. I'd like to finish with a poem about the experience of Sangha on Zoom during lockdown. It seems unlikely that I have been helping with technical support, given my sensory issues, but I've appreciated the connection of it, however confusing the process has been. Sangha on Zoom. The World Wide Web, the Sangha tree, this odd contraption of Zoomery. Dental floss pulleys wound around wine bottle cogs. This blue Peter contraption mediates Dharma talks. Yet despite the odds, the wheels stay on, then off, then on, then off, then on. And a magnificent stream of Dharma dreams carrying Buddhist insight in between when the camera's off, custard creams. It carries friendship, carries art, sensitivity, and enough confusion to stop a technically challenged Mitra's heart. So we breathe and watch the breath and breathe again, and we listen in depth. In socially distanced intimacy, we find ourselves in groups of 3. Where I'm remembered, I'm not alone. Others are walking the path to a deeper refuge. We seek our home. Thank you.